few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear we had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
would you like it back?
What do people really hate?
Yep.
Getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? Kissing Helga.
Hey, big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags? Okay, now, pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat the threat.
Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like it back?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
5 cents? 5 cents? Do I still have the option of getting punched?
Honestly, I don't know how everyone else missed it.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends and neighbors, what do you say? Good morning. Great to see you this morning. This is the Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., bringing you up to date on all the news of the day, whether it's happening here in our nation's capital, around the country, around the globe. Coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV. Events in the nation's capital. Hi, everybody. It's Bill Press. This year marks the 10th anniversary of doing the Bill Press Show, every day covering the news of the day with the nation's top newsmakers, either on the line or in our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Not only that, I go to the White House briefings every day to get answers to the top questions of the day. Bottom line, if it's happening in Washington, D.C., either at the White House or the Capitol, we are all over it. Every day, we welcome to our studio political leaders and reporters and labor leaders and newsmakers to help us understand the issues of the day. You know, we started out as a radio show only, but over the years, we have branched out to all forms of the new media. So today, we're not just a radio show. We are podcasting, streaming audio, streaming video, and we are simulcast live on Free Speech TV nationwide, reaching out to 40 million households on Free Speech TV, in addition to hundreds of thousands on local radio stations and online.
AFGE is so proud to be associated with this show and looks forward to being working with Bill and this show for a long time.
Bill Press is the right man at the right time with the right message.
And thanks to the Bill Press Show, we get our message out to thousands and thousands of people every day. Thank you, Bill Press.
The Teamsters are a proud partner with Bill Press on his show, telling the truth about what's going on with working families. Tune in.
Yes, it's been a fun and exciting 10 years so far for the Bill Press Show. We're looking forward to many more with all of you, broadcasting live every morning from the nation's capital.
on your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine.
Virginia Tech.
Tucson.
Aurora.
Fort Hood. Oak Creek.
Newtown.
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 How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad.
As a friend.
As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay, so who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, October 26, 2015. Bill is not here. It's me, Peter Ogburn. I'm filling in for Bill today. Bill's going to be back a little bit later on this week. We've got a lot of great guest hosts lined up to help you through the week. And not only great guest hosts, but great guests as well. We got a lot of good guests today. We got Scott Bland coming up a little bit later. We got Emily Schultheis from National Journal. We got Tierney Sneed from Talking Points Memo. We got Olivia Nuzzi from the Daily Beast. It's like ladies' night in here. I like that. I love women. I have all their albums. I'm glad we filled them up here on the show today. We're gonna have a good time with me, your guest host, Peter Ogburn. Reach out and touch the show at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. You can check out our website at billpressshow.com. You could stream audio of the show on TuneIn or the iHeartRadio app, whichever one you prefer. You want to watch the show on streaming, you watch it on TawkrTV on YouTube. That's youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR TV. And, of course, we are on DirecTV and Dish Network on Free Speech TV. By the way, if you have one of those Roku boxes, we don't mention this enough. The Roku boxes, they got a little Free Speech TV channel. You just watch it.
I had no
right
idea.
There. Yeah. You got a Roku box? Boom, right there. You don't even have to have a dish. You just got one of those Roku boxes. You got it.
I bought Mom and Dad a Roku last year for Christmas, so
they can watch.
I know what we're talking about on the phone today.
They can watch. They can watch. Tell them where they can find us. That voice, of course, is the voice of Jamie Benson, who is running the board this morning, wearing a let's see his Patriots shirt there.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jamie.
Just barely escaped the New York Football Jets.
I gotta tell you something,
yesterday.
man. That was a heck of a game.
We did it.
Screening your calls at 866-55-PRESS is Ray Rogers. She's standing by to take your calls. And, of course, if you're watching us, you are doing so because of the great work of Cyprian Bolding, who is also decked out in his gear today. He's wearing his Washington football team gear today.
Like it.
Like it. All right, here's the deal. Here's the deal. We're going to play that audio. Because Saturday, I had just a little bit of evening. So I spent the day yesterday doing something that I never, ever, ever, ever do. And that is just sit on the couch and watch football all day long. Now, first of all, I don't watch much NFL football. And I was reminded yesterday why I don't. It's just, ugh. It just sucks the life out of you. But I did watch some of this Washington against Tampa Bay game. All right. Now, first of all, I hate the Washington football team. I hate the name. I hate the ownership. I can't stand it, right?
Couldn't agree with you more.
Right. So they get into this hole 24-0, right? So the fans start leaving because, of course, they do. And lo and behold, they come back, right? They come back and they end up winning the game. So the final score was 31-30. It was like a last-second-ish touchdown by Washington. And after it's over, this goofy-ass quarterback that they got, Kirk Cousins, he comes like storming to the locker room, and there's like a gaggle of reporters there, and he looks at all the reporters, and this is what he says.
You like that? You like that?
Like, how amped up is he? He is on like a 12. Listen to him.
You like that? You like that?
Dude, you beat the worst team in football. Barely. You barely beat the worst team in football, and he's jacked up to the moon. Like, it's just, that is so, and like, by the way, I've developed this nasty little habit of listening to sports talk radio in D.C., and it is the worst thing ever. They are going to be on his tip all day today about how great Kirk Cousins is and what an unbelievable victory he led them to. They improbably beat the worst team in football, and it's going to be a coronation in this town.
But it was a comeback.
It was the biggest comeback in the history of the football team, right? They've been around for whatever, 80 some odd years. It's the biggest comeback ever against the worst team in football.
Right.
All right. So, congratulations. Everybody settle down just a little bit with the running around screaming. You know there are going to be dumbass T-shirts now that are going to say, "You like that?" all over it. You know that's going to happen. I ain't going to buy one. Anyway, it was quite a day for the Washington football team. All right, so like I said, lots of good stuff coming up later on today. We're going to take a look at the state of the Republicans in the race for president. Ben Carson had quite a weekend. We're going to talk about that. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Oh, my goodness. Look at this. Jamie Benson with the headlines. Here we go. Let's do it.
Just a couple of other stories for you on this Monday morning. We're talking about football. Let's start with football this morning. You know, obviously some big victories yesterday. The Washington football team coming back, the Patriots winning, the Panthers beating the Eagles in Sunday night. But football started rather early yesterday morning.
That's right.
9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the U.S. But the game was being played in London, England, one of 4 games the NFL will be hosting in London this year. What made it even more significant this time, however, it was the first NFL game to be streamed exclusively online.
It was with Yahoo, right?
Yahoo.
How about that?
Was the provider there? One thing that was being discussed online was there was no DVR type controls for the stream. So that was
wow, and that's interesting.
Did you tune in at all?
No, of course not.
Online?
It was the Bills versus the Jaguars.
It was a good game though. It was very much like the Washington football team. Two bad teams coming together. One team coming back to grab the victory. The Jaguars, of course, did win. Yahoo said that more than 30 advertisers bought spots for the games or for the game yesterday, and that webcast to advertisers was sold out. So
wow.
They did all right.
That's a big deal. They spent like $12 million to get the streaming rights to that, right? And
big deal.
That was a huge deal. And that is going to be the way that we watch TV, right?
Yeah.
Like the DVR thing of not being able to fast forward is interesting.
Yeah, I tuned in for a little bit. I did notice the stream on my computer was a little choppy. On my phone,
Okay.
pretty much flawless.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't watch it.
All right. Also over the weekend here,
I was still asleep, frankly. Go ahead.
we had another drunk passenger on an airline. This time, American Airlines. A 26-year-old drunk man was kicked off an American Airlines flight because he
I remember
was
my first beer.
threatening flight attendants. Guess what he was threatening flight attendants with?
What? I'm sure it was something horrible.
Finger guns.
Oh, dude.
The gentleman locked himself in the bathroom and continually made finger gun gestures. The plane, of course, was forced to make an emergency landing in Phoenix, was going from San Jose to Dallas. The police, however, did not arrest him, just took him to a hotel, let him sober up.
I gotta say, I'm okay with that story. First of all,
he made it out. He got really lucky.
Look,
I
mean, if he had gotten arrested for pointing finger guns, I don't know. I mean, that seems like a bit much, right? But like, don't get drunk and get on an airplane. If you can't handle your liquor.
What's worse, saying the B word on an airplane or doing finger guns?
The B word.
Definitely the B word.
Without a
right?
doubt.
Yeah,
Without a doubt.
More with breath. All right, so you remember a couple weeks ago here, a photo. It was a Snapchat screenshot. Made its way to Tucker Carlson's The Daily Caller, and it was of Malia Obama.
Oh, yeah.
At a party where there was allegedly beer pong going on at the party.
Oh, that's right.
The Daily Caller published that photo. This was at a university visit. Of course, Malia Obama will be deciding where she'll be going to college next year, very, very soon.
About that time, yeah.
To Brown University.
Yeah.
The student-run newspaper at Brown University, the Daily Herald, on Friday issued a public apology to Malia Obama, hoping that there was a chance that she'd still consider the university for her choice coming up very, very soon. Probably the best part about the article, the Herald's editorial board concedes that Brown's student body collectively has, quote, no chill.
Oh, nice.
So now they're hoping that they've convinced Malia Obama that they have just the right amount of chill.
The right amount of chill.
To welcome her.
Got to make sure you have the right amount of chill.
As a freshman next fall.
You know, the interesting thing about that, by the way, is that it's almost sort of an admission that it was her, right? Because there have been a lot of rumors like, it doesn't look like her. Maybe that's not her. We're not sure if that's actually her. But I guess they're sort of acknowledging, that was.
It's scary, man. I mean, you remember 2008. She was teeny tiny.
Yeah. Oh, dude, trust me.
She's about to be an adult.
I know. Having a 10 and a 7-year-old myself, the fact that we've gone this quickly, it terrifies me. It terrifies me.
Yeah. So we'll wait anxiously to see what she ends up.
We'll see what happens. Thank you, Jamie. All right, about 16 minutes past the hour on this Monday, October 26th. We're almost in November. Good grief. Holy oof. I don't know if I'm ready for that. Okay, so let's just catch up on the state of the GOP, because they had an interesting weekend. I got to tell you right off the bat, Donald Trump continues to be either at the top or in second place of just about every poll. Ben Carson's overtaken him in a couple of recent polls just in Iowa. And I have to tell you, this whole time, I've gotten the Donald Trump appeal. I would never vote for him. I think he's got major problems. I think at best he's a racist. But I get the appeal. I get why people flock to a guy like Donald Trump, right? If you're in a party that's just floundering and you can't get on the same page, you don't want to end up with another candidate like Mitt Romney. You want to get someone with a little bit of fire. who has a broader appeal. I get the Donald Trump thing. I really do. And I, for one, have not been one of these people who at every turn has said that every little misstep that he's made is going to kill his campaign, or, he's never going to survive this, right? This whole time it's been like, no, this is only going to help him. This will only help him. His attack on John McCain, that was only going to help him. This idea of this dumb wall that he's building in Mexico, that's only going to help him. The fact that he's making fun of the way that the candidates look, the Rand Paul comments, the making fun of Marco Rubio, that's only going to help him. This is why people like Donald Trump. But just for the life of me, I cannot understand the rise of Ben Carson. And Ben Carson has sort of it's been about a month and a half or so. Ben Carson's been sort of flirting with that number one spot in a lot of the polls. He's either been in second or first in these recent polls. And I just don't understand it. I don't get it. Because he's not this guy that says crazy things that everybody wants to hear. He just says like certifiably crazy things. Like he has a weird, very weird, almost erotic love affair with guns. Like he loves guns. He loves guns more than he loves kids. Like he talked about this, like no sight of a dead child is as sad as the thought of us losing guns in America. Like it's a weird kink of his. But he went out yesterday. Where was this, Jamie? Was this on this? Wasn't on This Week, was it? Or was
this was on Meet the Press.
Meet the Press on NBC. And he was talking about abortion. Now, we have had the battle over abortion in this country. It's been fought. It's been settled. And you still, now more than ever, by the way, in like the past campaigns, you've got wackos like Ted Cruz, Ben Carson, who are out there who want to relitigate abortion in this country. And Ben Carson, I want to start with the first one, which is this is the perfect Ben Carson clip because it sums up like how weird and serious he can be while also saying something that is just bizarre.
The mother should not believe that the baby is her enemy.
Now, okay, I think I hear what he's trying to say. Like, okay, it's a weird thing to say, but it's also like, okay, man, you want to have that mentality? Like, we should embrace and hold on to these babies.
Did you hear there's a war on babies?
I hear there's a war on babies, and all they want to do is all they worry about is getting these women to keep these babies, and then once the baby is born, forget about it. They don't care about the babies after that. It's all about, it's like a weird punish these women for mistakes that they've made and make them live with it for the rest of their lives. It's like that seems to be, it's more about like justice in his eyes. But here is the statement that's gotten Ben Carson into a lot of trouble before, but that doesn't stop him from going there again.
Think about this. During slavery, and I know that's one of those words you're not supposed to say, but I'm...
Stop the clip. That's the best. Because you know that he's got advisors, by the way, who have told him, because this is not the first time he's compared something to slavery. He's compared abortion to slavery. He's also compared Obamacare to slavery. And so you know his advisors, anytime that he mentions slavery, they like throw their hands up like, oh God, no. No, there he goes again. He's talking about slavery again. Oh my God, please make him stop. Make him stop. So he knows he's not supposed to say it. So let's play the clip again.
But I'm saying it. During slavery, a lot of the slave owners thought that they had the right to do whatever they wanted to that slave. Anything that they chose to do. And, what if the abolitionist had said, I don't believe in slavery. I think it's wrong. But you guys do whatever you want to do. Where would we be?
It's not a good argument.
There's so many holes.
It's just not a good argument. By the way, nothing is as bad as slavery except for slavery. All right? Nothing is as bad as the Holocaust except for the Holocaust. Stop comparing things to horrible tragedies in society. Like I'm sorry, abortion is not slavery. You nut. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. 866-557-7377. We're going to take a quick break here. I want to get your calls on Ben Carson. Does Ben Carson have the staying power? Or am I missing something here? Is he a stronger candidate than I'm giving him credit? I just don't see it. And we've got more to talk about. Rubio, Trump, and Jeb, all with very interesting weekends. It's the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press. 866-55-PRESS. Very quick break. We'll be right back.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
Grunt work. Love it, hate it, useful, not useful.
Necessary.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
I will say that I think is a challenge for anyone, especially the new workforce as they come in, is the ability to accept grunt work with grace.
The most boring, awful details are the most important elements of doing this work. From the way you save names in your Rolodex to the way you bank and you deposit checks. The truth is, this work isn't glamorous, it's rewarding. You don't go into this for the glamour, you go into it for the impact. And so it takes that determination to do the scut work to actually get anywhere.
It can be really challenging in a first job for someone who's coming out of finishing school to have the enthusiasm that they do to make the type of social impact that they've dreamed of. And now they're here in this first job and all of a sudden they're shouldered with all this grunt work. And they don't understand and they don't get it and they're resentful.
Talk more about the power of answering phones.
Sure, I did that myself, took out the trash, cleaned offices when I had to, and it's all good. There's power in being a good team player and in being somebody who sometimes has to support other people's leadership before you get to have your own moment in the sun.
Is it hard to wait?
It is absolutely hard to wait, especially if you're an alpha female like I am.
I think grunt work can help a new employee build trust internally and teach them the nuances of how an organization is run so that they can have a real good sense of what HR is doing, what finance is doing, what all of the other departments are, and that actually makes them a better employee in the long run.
So in my role on a daily basis, I literally can be looking at a new venture in software. We could be looking at a microfinance deal. I could be making coffee, taking out the trash, and riding a tractor on any given day.
Have you found people who thought it was demeaning that they were given this job, work in the front office and make the coffee when they graduated with all A's from this great university?
Yeah, people like that just don't last very long in our world. If your approach to life is that, you're so smart and you're such a fabulous entrepreneur that you can't understand why people aren't giving you opportunities, it's really hard to advance.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. I would love to hear from you about the Republican candidate, specifically Ben Carson, who had a pretty weird weekend. Let's go right to Rose in Ligonier, Indiana. Hello, Rose.
Hi, morning.
Good morning, my dear. What's up?
Well, I think in hearing it, living in Indiana, that people are just so fed up with the establishment candidate that Trump's just so far over the edge that way, and Carson's got such a mild voice that they figure those are the two shots that they got. So what one isn't going for Trump, then the rest is going for Carson.
I mean, that's not a bad point, but Carly Fiorina is also an outsider, and you might say, and I would agree with you, that she doesn't know what the hell she's doing, but Ben Carson has shown he doesn't know what the debt ceiling is. He doesn't know how budgets work. Admittedly, he said this flat out in an interview. He proved he didn't know what the hell he was talking about. So if you want to go for an outsider that's a little more sane than Trump, at least you would maybe look at someone like Carly Fiorina. I don't know. I just don't get the Carson thing. More calls coming up next.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you come.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Help keep all the presidential candidates straight with your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show. Just making some notes here. Hang on. I'm coming. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. 33 minutes past the hour on this Monday, October 26th. So we spent the entire show so far beating up on Ben Carson. Whang. Because he had a weird weekend, right? Again, he compared abortion to slavery, which is just not something that you should do. But who knows? It'll probably make his numbers go up in a place like Iowa. By the way, side note here, I got a little issue with one of our listeners on Twitter last week because I talked about this is sketchy territory, and I probably shouldn't, but I'm going.
You want me to stop you?
No, I don't want you to stop. A good producer would stop me, but I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to listen. I made a comment about these Iowa voters. These Iowa voters, man. Oh, they drive me nuts. They act like they speak for everybody else in the country, and their vote is so important because they got the first vote in the country, and everybody's got to show up to Iowa to come kiss the ass of every voter in Iowa. Look at your senators from Iowa. You got a corn farmer and a woman who used to castrate pigs. Those are your senators. Congratulations. And you got to run around talking about how important your vote is. Look, everybody's vote is important. Iowa's vote's not any more important than anybody else's. Get off your high horse, you dopes. I hope, boy, would I be happy if somebody else takes over as the first vote in the nation over from Iowa. Watch the Iowa people just freak out. Drives me nuts. Anyway, here's the deal. Jeb Bush. Boy, I'm going to get flamed for that. I know I am. I know she's listening, and I know she's going to just murder me on Twitter. I'm on Twitter, by the way, at Peter Ogburn. If you want to direct your hate towards me, I'm happy to take it. All right, so Jeb Bush sort of jumped into this race as the immediate favorite, right, when he got into the race. 100 days ago. Probably a little bit more than that. But he was the guy. He was the guy. Everyone's, will Jeb Bush run? Is he going to be the one to do it? He's the serious candidate. He's the not establishment enough, but he's still got some of the credibility to be president. And it has been an utter nightmare for Jeb Bush. I don't think he's had one positive story come out. Honestly, can you think of some positive push that he's had on something? I can't. I can't think of a positive poll number. He hasn't done well at the debates. He is stinking in the polls. I mean, he's down in single digits, like 5% in the last one, I think. So just last week, the end of last week, a couple of quick things. I'm going to start with the Supergirl one because it's a great time for comic book nerds, right? Like, comic book nerds are having, they've been having a moment, but it's only getting better, right? There are good movies that are coming out that are based on comic books. They got good TV shows now. You got guys like Ta-Nehisi Coates who are writing the Black Panther comic books now. It's just great. Comic books have become totally mainstream. And the good news is, if you're a lady and you like comic books, which there are plenty of them, you are getting some cool superheroes now, right? Like Wonder Woman's got a movie coming out. There's what's the Marvel one that's coming out? I forget what it is. Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel's a lady. You're gonna have Captain Marvel movie, and there's a Supergirl TV show. Right? This is great. We can now accept and embrace the fact that women can like comic books and have female strong leads and not get objectified. Right? Right, Jeb Bush?
I saw that there's a Supergirl is on TV. I saw it when I was working out this morning. There's an ad promoting Supergirl. She looked pretty hot.
Oh boy!
What's going on there?
Just what every woman wants to hear. I'm gonna watch this TV. This TV show looks pretty good because she looks kind of hot.
She sounds like a sexual predator.
It's very
that tone
predatory.
comes off.
Yeah,
Pretty hot.
Yeah, she's pretty hot. I might watch it. No,
he sounds like Dick Cheney.
What I love is that he's saying the show looks good because she looks pretty hot. Like, it can't just be that it's a good. First of all, Supergirl is not a very good superhero. Oh, but also, but Superman is a bad superhero too. Superman is like the worst superhero of all time.
I don't
Listen to Cyprian. I
don't want to go that far.
What's his superpower? Everything. What's his flaw? Nothing. Kryptonite doesn't count as a flaw. That thing comes from, like, where are you going to find the kryptonite?
Cyprian has answers for everything.
Cyprian is like the Statler and Waldorf of the show. Like, I can hear him back there. It's so great. But anyway, like Supergirl or don't like Supergirl, but don't say it looks good because she looks kind of hot. I mean, women everywhere roll their eyes at that bro comment by dummy Jeb Bush. So then he had to, he made the announcement that some of the paid staff on his election team, on his campaign team, they're going to have to go to volunteer status. We found that out on Friday. He's having to make pay cuts and not pay people because he's doing so poorly. This was the guy who was going to bring in loads of money, tons of money. And he did, by the way, with his super PAC. And yet, he's having to scale back his campaign already. And then he was asked about his run for president. And this clip is just so goofy because it's like they talk about fire in the belly, right? That's the thing you got to have if you want to run for president. You got to have that fire. You got to have that push. You got to have that determination. You're going to want to be president more than anything else in the world, right? And then here's Jeb Bush.
I got a lot of really cool things that I could do other than sit around being miserable, listening to people demonize me and me feeling compelled to demonize them. That is a joke. Elect Trump if you want that.
I got a lot of cool things I could be doing besides running for president. I could go through a bunch of old stamps I have in a box. I could finally redo the back deck on my house. I could get a new grill. I drive a Dodge Stratus. It's basically what Jeb Bush is saying. I could be doing a lot of cool things besides running for president. And what I love, get that last Trump where he talks about him having no money. Trump just like an injured gazelle, right? Like a puma on an injured gazelle. Here comes Trump and just rubs his face all in it.
Bush has no money. He's cutting. He's meeting today with mommy and daddy, and they're working on their campaign.
He's meeting today with mommy. That's true. He retired to the Bush compound, wherever in Kennebunkport or wherever they are now, with his mom and dad, and sit down and take a look at the campaign and what are we going to do? Where are we going to go from here? How in the world am I going to get any kind of traction whatsoever? I think Jeb Bush is just toast. I think he is toast. I think people see him and they see Romney 2.0. And while we're talking about Trump, I want to get that clip about his predicting 9/11 because this is another knock on Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush running around with these crazy comments about how his brother kept us safe. No, he did not. Not even a little bit. And Donald Trump said, 9/11 could have been prevented under the right leadership. In fact, he says he predicted 9/11 way before it ever happened.
In my book, written in 2000, I was the one that predicted Osama bin Laden was trouble and you better do something about him. Well, guess what? 19 months later, he came down and knocked out the World Trade Center.
It happened. You can't argue with those facts. That happened.
He's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong at all. Donald Trump saw it happening. By the way, this is just my obligatory bang on the fact that Donald Trump gets to call into a Sunday morning talk show on his cell phone. Right? That was on ABC this week.
Did you hear all the stuff in the background?
Yeah. It's like, come on, man. I get that he knows how to control the media and he can work the media however he wants, but good grief, find a studio for Christ's sake. 42 minutes past the hour. We got Scott Bland coming up next. We're going to talk a little more about the state of the 2016 race. We've got some Joe Biden stuff to talk about and some Marco Rubio stuff to talk about. We'll hit on that with Scott Bland. From National Journal's Hotline, the editor-in-chief of National Journal's Hotline. So stay tuned. Have that coming up.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Your toilet. So how do you do? I take away your wee and the odd number 2. For a quiet moment, I'll always be there, bringing you troubles. You don't even have to care. Oh, think about the things you put me through. Things you put me through that I've been through you. Stuff from your body I'll happily take. Liquid or solid, whatever you make. When you think of all the things that I do, it's time to say thanks to your Lou. If I wasn't there anymore, you can only imagine disaster. I am a lifesaver, and that is not a lie. Where I don't exist, thousands die. So next time you have to do a poo or a wee, thank the sanitary saints that you have me. When you think of all the things that I do, it's time to say thanks to your Lou. La 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 la. It's time to say thank you to your Lou.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Yes, it is The Bill Press Show. 46 minutes past the hour on this Monday, October 26th. My name is Peter Ogden, sitting in for Bill Press today. It's Monday, so let's take a quick time out to talk to our buddy, editor-in-chief of National Journal's Hotline, Scott Bland. He's on the phone. You can follow him on Twitter at Hotline. Scott, hey, Scott, good morning.
Good morning.
So let's talk a little bit about just some quick 2016 stuff. We'll just pick up where we left off, because before we went to break, we were talking about Jeb Bush and sort of the state of his campaign. Cutbacks in his campaign. They're trying to save money. He had a big meeting, as Donald Trump said, with his mommy and daddy over the weekend to figure out where he is. What in the world is happening to Jeb Bush?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things going on here in terms of longer-term macro things that we're seeing throughout the 2016 presidential campaign. First of all, I think we continue to discover how much more important the campaign money versus the super PAC money is than we all assumed a few months ago. Bush's campaign has this $100 million plus super PAC that was kind of the intention of which was to, his super PAC strategist said was to scare other Republicans out of the race. Not only has that not happened, his own campaign has kind of run into spending issues, and so he's had to make cutbacks. He's having to run I think a slightly different campaign than he anticipated. He's talking he's talking about how there are a lot of cool things he could be doing instead of just running a non-joyful campaign for president, which was his original intention. Turns out running for pretty much anything these days is not particularly joyful. It's very hard to kind of turn that into a fun activity. And so I think this is a guy who he hadn't run for office in over a decade. He hadn't run a Republican primary since 1994. And so he's kind of grappling with the new realities a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jeb Bush is, not that I would ever vote for him, I don't think, but I don't think he would be the worst president, but boy, is he just a terrible candidate, right? You got to be able to get elected to serve, and he's just having a really hard time. I can't think of one positive Jeb Bush story out of the election news, right? It's all something dopey that he said or some trouble that he's gotten into. He's just had a really rough go of it.
The one thing I will say about that is that we have really just in the last few weeks entered the point in time where campaigns and super PACs are really starting to spend their money persuading voters.
Right.
And that is a clear strength of Bush's campaign. His super PAC has more money. His campaign has around as much money as anyone else, and they're going to be able to spend a lot on TV ads, a lot on mail, so on and so forth. Now, the question, there's only so much that can do if people don't like the product you're selling.
Right.
And so we'll have to see. We'll have to see where that goes. But but I will say, he does have certain advantages that have not yet played out.
So let's switch to more local politics. A familiar face is in the news in Louisiana. Senator David Vitter is in the Louisiana governor's race. How's he looking down there?
It ended up being a little closer than people expected. So Louisiana has an unusual system for their races. They actually
of course they do, because they're Louisiana, and it's just about everything they do is crazy. But I love the state.
So they actually, over the weekend, they had their all-party primary, or jungle primary, as some people call it. There's no party separation. Everyone runs on the same ballot for governor, and Vitter just squeaked into the runoff against the main Democrat running, who is a state representative named John Bell Edwards. And so now there's going to be a runoff between them next month. And to see who will take over from Bobby Jindal, who's termed out as governor of Louisiana. And as you might expect for Louisiana politics, it's turned particularly nasty.
Of course,
especially between the various Republicans who are running. You also had a couple of other statewide Republican folks running there who were particularly vigorous during the campaign about going after Vitter for his past prostitution scandal.
Yeah.
And now a real question is whether they're going to endorse him, whether they'll withhold support, and more importantly, how much of their vote, of that anti-Vitter vote, will bleed over to the Democratic candidate in that runoff.
That's amazing that still has staying power. That scandal that he pretty spectacularly survived. What was that? 2006, 2007?
2007, yeah.
2007.
part of the way he survived it was just by not talking about it and by writing it out. But now he's been in this really kind of very, very hot race, and people have been just bringing it up constantly. There was a question at one of the debates, have any of you ever broken the Louisiana criminal code? And which, he decried as a gotcha question. Lieutenant Governor Jay Dardenne, in particular, was very, very vocal about just bringing it up at every opportunity. It's not something he's had to deal with before. He's been running against Democrats for in 2010 when he ran for re-election, and the Democratic Party in Louisiana has faded as a force. But he's really had to deal with it front and center in this campaign, and it has not been pleasant.
Interesting stuff, man. Can't wait to see how that one plays out. Scott Bland, editor-in-chief from National Journal's Hotline. Thank you so much for joining us, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Talk to you again next week. It is the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press. Very quick break. We'll be right back.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
We came here to Foster City, where we're going to watch UC Berkeley, a University of California SWAT team, do a hostage rescue scenario.
Should I put the water in there now?
Yeah, go ahead. So this is like some kind of chemical agent?
Yeah. Copy, we're ready. I'm gonna get shot. I already know it, dude. Fiend's yelling at me. Help me. Show your hands. Help me. Show your hands. Back
Gentlemen, we have a chemical. We need to pull our person out. Get these guys out of here. Pull them out. Put your hands on your face. Put your hands on your face. Keep him covered.
Your head up. He's got a shotgun back there.
That's all right. Keep his hands up where we can.
Hands on your face.
Hands on your face. On your face.
Someone cover me. I got a holster up, dude.
Okay, pull him around the corner. Pick him up. Get him out of the building. Quickly. We've got this. Let's get that guy out of there. You, come towards us. Keep your hands on your face. Turn around. Face away from us. Back towards us. Quickly. Back up towards me. Quickly. Pull him out of the room.
We're exfilling, Billy?
Yes, we are exfilling.
It's actually around 92, 94, there was an attack on the chancellor at his residence, which is on campus. And we realized at the time that we didn't have any resources to deal with that kind of threat when it took place. So, and I think about 15 years before, they had some kind of semblance of a SWAT team. So they regenerated the idea of activating a SWAT team.
And then since then, you guys have kind of branched out to doing what kind of stuff?
Well, since then, we train for everything. We train for every eventuality, barricaded subjects. Like I said, most of what we do is high-risk warrants.
And it's something like, it could be like a mugging kind of thing, just like on the street?
Depends.
Or
I mean,
like
a mugging, but if it's armed, particularly.
Right, an armed mugging, yeah.
Right, exactly. And then, obviously, we're looking for training for anything else that we might be faced with. And that's what's great about Urban Shield is, we couldn't duplicate this on our own.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. We were talking about Ben Carson earlier, and what in the world is going on with Ben Carson, and why he's gone anywhere in the polls, much less he's number one in a couple of them. Let's go to James in the Tucky. What's up, James?
Yes.
How you doing, man?
Oh, pretty good. Ben Carson is smart.
He has staying power. He can avoid issues that matter to people, like jobs, minimum wages, and he stirs up everyone that's against pro-choice. Republicans have got to use this wedge issue to win elections, and they play this game around here all the time, and they win elections.
I mean, it's an interesting take, James. Like, I mean, he is playing some of these issues smart, right? Like some of these social issues that Republicans really come out in droves for, but then he kind of almost ruins it sometimes by taking it just a little too far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why I think in a general election, it will be so bad for a guy like Ben Carson if he does end up being the nominee. So, good call. I appreciate it, James. Thanks for calling us. By the way, I have to mention this story because this is just so great. Remember the election back in 2012 when Mitt Romney was running against President Obama? And everybody was pointing out that Romneycare, the health care situation in Massachusetts, was basically the outline for Obamacare, right? There's a lot of similarities, and Mitt Romney the whole time was going, no, of course not. No, of course not. So the Boston Globe talked to Mitt Romney about, it was for an obituary for Staples founder Thomas Stemberg, and Romney says, quote, "Without Tom pushing it, I don't think we would have had Romneycare. And of course, without Romneycare, I don't think we would have had Obamacare. So without Tom, a lot of people wouldn't have had health insurance." Okay, so turns out he was absolutely wrong in 2012 when he was running around saying that Romneycare was nothing like Obamacare. Shock of all shocks. Color me surprised. Big couple of hours coming up. It's the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn. Stay tuned.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Piston fan. Their slogan was, "We come to work." That's what Detroit about. That's why they used it. It's a team thing. They won 2 championships, a team. There was no star. No mayor can come in here and be a star. It's a team thing. No governors can come in here and think you can do it by yourself. It's a team thing. You got communities. They got ideas too. The only thing wrong with Detroit, people had lost hope here. Residents, city workers, so much corruption. They lose hope. But I grew up here. I love this city. I think it can come back. I've been working for the city 24 and a half years. Within the last 10 years, we took 4 pay cuts. And then an additional 10% wage cut. I've lost a home.
When you take all of the decisions out of the city of Detroit, all of us, then what do you have? Exactly what we got. A lot of problems. Every time the city seems to fall into a problem, it's always on the backs of us workers.
You wake up out of a dead sleep and you jump behind the wheel and take off driving and try to get everybody there safe, not knowing really what you're pulling up to. I'm not eligible for Social Security, so the pension is my sole salary at this point.
We've been in business here 39 years. We've seen a lot of changes in Detroit. The area was a lot of industry, a lot of city workers. It's getting very tough for the city workers. It's getting tough for us as a business people.
Response times are increasing because of the closing of companies, which takes your insurance rate through the roof. So all the things that affect us affect the citizens.
I worked for the city in different capacities for 29 years. I feel like an old jacket. They use me up and they throw me away. In my condition, nobody's gonna hire me. I'm 68 years old. Half the times, I can't get my blood pressure medicine. It's either feeding myself, blood pressure, or paying bills.
$754. By the time they take all the deductions for I have my car insurance, my house insurance, and my health insurance taken out. So the time they take all that, I'll get about $300 after they take all that out. I don't understand it. I can't see how the governor's allowing this to happen and what they're doing and they want to blame it all on the seniors. Not only the seniors, but the city workers. And we worked hard. I know I worked hard.
I've been in Detroit since 1946. I was 14 years old when I came in. I don't live large at all. I wish I could. I don't know when the last time I've been shopping. I only get $1,100. and I'm 81 years old, and I need every penny that I can get and that I do get. And I'm very, very upset about the idea of them taking away my pensions that I worked 30 years for. I think it's terrible that they talk about Detroit like they do, because Detroit has been very good to me.
I have a lot of city workers coming in with their uniforms on, Detroit Water Department, Police Department, Fire Department. I get a lot of people, the Border Patrol come in. So if I lose that customer base, I'm going to be in a position where I might have to close down. If they take away their pensions, if they start cutting jobs, it's going to cut into a large percentage of not only our business, but other businesses that are in the city of Detroit. We're here. We've been here for 26 years. We're still trying to do business in the city.
Detroiters are survivors. They tough. They adapt. But only can do so much when your politicians ahead of you and we're not on the same team. We're not going to let Detroit be erased, bulldozed to where we're going to fight to the bitter end. Detroit going to survive.
Just this month, my bill was like $138.
Even at one phone call a week cost me $40 to $50 every month.
I am living on a fixed income of SSI, so this is really a great hardship. Families are being punished. When they incarcerate your children, they incarcerate the whole family.
In 2011, the Media Action Grassroots Network, Working Narratives, and Prison Legal News founded the Campaign for Prison Phone Justice, an effort to call on the FCC to address the cost of interstate phone calls. The campaign mobilized prisoners to send hundreds of letters. Advocates and families filled out postcards, met with elected officials, and signed petitions. Partnerships were formed across the political spectrum and with groups in the criminal justice, civil rights, and public interest community. The film distribution company Participant Media and director Ava DuVernay joined the fight through a social action campaign tied to the release of the feature film Middle of Nowhere. In an effort to push the FCC to act, the campaign hosted a historic rally outside of the Federal Communications Commission where for the first time, families of prisoners, elected officials, civil rights and faith leaders came together to call for an end to predatory phone rates.
We're all held captive when predatory phone companies gouge our families.
My son has been incarcerated now for over 10 years, and my husband estimates that in the time we spent over $25,000 on prison phone calls.
My hero's not yours, you probably arrested them. Your schools probably neglected them. They spawn thoughts, you probably infected them. Feed us what you feed us, you can lay us next to them. FBI call it major crimes. Babies making babies cry.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show. Welcome to this Monday, October 26th. Clearly, I am not Bill Press. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today. Bill's on the West Coast. He had a big event at our station in Eureka, California over the weekend. I understand it went well for those Californians that were able to go. I love the callers that we get from California this early in the morning, by the way, because I'm never sure if they're thinkers or drinkers, but we get them. They're there, and we appreciate it. Anyway, Bill's going to be back later on this week, but for now, you're stuck with me. A couple more hours of the show to go. So, lots of stuff to talk about. Running the board is Jamie Benson. Good morning, Mr. Benson.
Good morning, sir.
Screening the calls at 866-55-PRESS is Ray Rogers. She's standing by to take your calls, 866-557-7377. And we are streaming live video on youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR-TV. That's how you spell Talker now, by the way. And we are also on Free Speech TV on DirecTV and Dish Network because of Cyprian Bolding, who is here, decked out in his Washington football team attire after that win yesterday. Now, I couldn't do this by myself, so I brought in a lot of help. Political reporter for the National Journal, Emily Schultheis, is in studio. Good morning, Emily.
Good to be here. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for coming in early. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Lots of stuff to talk about. It was a very, very busy political weekend. You watching any baseball? Do you watch baseball playoffs?
A little bit.
All right. I'm good with whoever wins at this point, right? Like, it's the Mets and the Royals. Kind of don't care. I'm glad the Dodgers are out.
Who's your team?
The Nationals.
Okay.
So, like, not a great year for the Nationals.
Not so much, no.
Not so much. But look, the Mets deserve to be where they are. And the Royals, I like the Royals just fine. But, you know, politicians, when we have these sporting events, they make these silly wagers of things you're going to have to do if the team loses. So Adam Schiff is from California. He bet on the Dodgers, and he lost a bet. I forgot who he lost the bet to. Do you know who it is, Jamie?
Someone from New York.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Somebody from New York. And the loser had to sing on the floor of the house. And Adam Schiff and his Dodgers lost. So he had to go on the floor of the house and sing the theme song to the New York baseball Mets, Meet the Mets. And this is what it sounded like.
Meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kitties. Bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life.
He's way into it.
Because the Mets are really socking the ball.
Yeah, right.
Knocking those home runs over the wall.
Over the wall.
East side, west side. Everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets of New York Town. Mr. Speaker, please tell me my time has expired.
You know, he's got like a Joe Lieberman quality of just like tortured, pained, like does not want to be doing this.
Every single word sounded like pain.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And that's how he sounded during the Benghazi hearing the other day.
That's true. He wasn't singing, by the way. Like they say you have to sing Meet the Mets. That was, that was something.
That was spoken word.
It was very avant-garde singing, right? Like we could call it that. Meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. So good for him for making it.
You already sound like you're having more fun than he was.
Yeah, right.
So.
It's exactly. That was with a lot more enthusiasm than Adam Schiff. So good for him for making good on his bet. I'm sure that somebody's got a Royals Mets wager going on somewhere.
I hope it involves barbecue.
Barbecue.
I was in Kansas City last year, not for the World Series, but for the Senate race.
Just for the barbecue?
I ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner barbecue one day. So.
Kansas City barbecue is legit, right? I love Kansas City barbecue. Where'd you go? Do you remember the name? Did you go to Arthur Bryant's?
I didn't go to Arthur Bryant's. I went to Oklahoma Joe's.
I
went to Jack Stack's and what was the other one? Gates.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. All right, you know what you're doing here. You know what you're talking about. All right, lots of good stuff coming up. We're going to talk to Emily about the Democrats running for president. But first...
This is the Full Court Press.
We're going to let Jamie do a couple of stories.
Are you doing this?
Give it a shot. You got
this. All right,
Go ahead. You got this.
Just a couple of other stories for you on this Monday morning. It's that time of the year again for warnings
season?
About candy on Halloween on Facebook.
Jesus.
CBS News, in fact, our friend Olivia Nuzzi, who will be joining us later, alerted me to this yesterday. CBS News has a report about ecstasy being the one drug that parents should be looking out for this year. However, they do admit they did some fact-checking of their own. They went to Snopes.com. Said, according to Snopes.com, these drugs have been around for years in the same shapes and colors, and there's no evidence anyone has ever slipped them to a child.
Of course not!
In a trick-or-treat bag.
Who takes drugs and then gives them away? Like that, I mean, of all the reasons this is a stupid story.
Here's another quote from Snopes. Quote, the small collection of pills depicted here represents a street value of hundreds of dollars.
Not going to happen.
So the notion that a neighbor would be distributing them to trick-or-treaters for no ostensible reason is rather implausible.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
But if you are feeling particularly safe, there's a couple of tips. Children shouldn't snack on candy while they're trick-or-treating. Wait till they get home so parents can inspect them. Do you inspect your kids' candy, Peter?
Oh, yeah, that's the greatest part of being a parent, is the VIG.
inspecting.
You get to take a cut.
With air quotes.
Yeah. You get to take a cut. And you get to go in and you can put all the crap candy like Mounds and Almond Joy.
Right.
And you get to sneak a couple of the Snickers.
What about homemade treats? You're going to let kids have
we don't do homemade treats. Although last year I dressed up as sexy Rob Ford.
Yep.
And I passed out. I had fake Coke all over my face, and I passed out chicken wings. I made chicken wings. But look, if it comes in a Ziploc bag, no.
Don't do it.
Those go to the trash.
Yeah. The last tip is look for packaging that's been tampered with. It's a common technique for folks coming back from Denver.
Yeah, right. That's a good point. But again, like if you're gonna go spend a bunch of money on weed cookies, why are you gonna give them away? It makes no sense.
No sense whatsoever.
To children, no less, who don't even need the drugs.
Exactly. Yeah. Silly.
Jimmy Fallon once again in the news, and once again in the news for an injury. And yes, you remember Jimmy Fallon a couple of months ago injured his right hand. He had a cast on his hand for The Tonight Show for several weeks. He did it again this weekend in Boston. He was at a event he was being honored by the Harvard Lampoon, the Harvard's humor magazine. He took a fall. You can see in a video, it's an Instagram video, I believe it was one of the students at Harvard that took this. He's teetering around with a bottle of Jägermeister, and then he trips and falls. I don't know if Jimmy was drunk and just having too much fun. A source told People magazine, quote, "It was all part of the celebration in the street, and some random girl kneeled down in front of him abruptly as he was turning around, and he tripped over her because he didn't see her. His hand is all right. We may see some type of bandaging there."
He's such a klutz.
I think the real crime is that he was drinking Jaeger of all
Yeah,
things.
Jaeger.
Yeah.
What is he, 19?
He's old enough. Come on.
I got to tell you something. This Jimmy Fallon guy, and he's been on the show, I've had just about enough of Jimmy Fallon.
What?
I don't like Jimmy Fallon.
He's the funniest on late night right now.
That's the most wrong thing you've ever said. And
I mean,
you said some
Colbert.
wrong stuff. You said some. Kimmel is number one. Then Colbert, right? Then Trevor Noah, and then Jimmy Fallon. No.
Trevor Noah's got a way to go.
No, and then Nightline, and then Jimmy Fallon.
All right.
Okay?
In some sad news this morning, this one really broke my heart.
This is what I think it is. I hate it.
NBA coaching legend Flip Saunders yesterday passed away at the age of 60, dying of cancer, Hodgkin's lymphoma. Over 1,000 victories over a 35-year coaching career Flip Saunders had, was once the coach of the Washington Wizards. Of course, started his career in Minnesota and ended his career in Minnesota as well. He was to be the head coach this year. They announced he had a setback back in September. On Friday, they'd announced he'd missed the entire season. And on Sunday, we unfortunately lost Flip Saunders. Kevin Garnett tweeted a picture sitting in front of Flip Saunders' parking space at the Minnesota facility with a quote, "Forever in my heart." Kevin Garnett was there at the beginning of Flip Saunders' tenure in Minnesota, and he was there at the end.
Cancer's a bitch, man. It
really
moves
is.
so fast on him, and I hate to see it because they just made the announcement he wasn't going to be able to coach this year, and he's gone already. John Wall, I think, had a great post about this because he coached John Wall right when John Wall came into the league. His very first coach. And he said, he's my first coach. He taught me a lot about being an NBA player, taught me a lot about being a man. Great tribute for Flip Saunders. Hate to see him go. I liked him a lot. All right. Lots of stuff to talk about. Very busy weekend for the Democrats. Let's start first of all with Hillary Clinton because she's the front runner. She's riding pretty high. She had a pretty big week last week.
She is. It was basically the best 10-day period in her entire campaign.
Yeah.
Probably even in her previous campaign too.
So let's see. She found out that Joe Biden wasn't going to run, which is as Donald Trump would say, huge weight lifted off of her shoulders. She nailed the Benghazi hearing. I mean, by all accounts, she looked. She looked more presidential than I ever thought that she would look. Right? Like she looked phenomenal up there. Bernie Sanders. The threat of Bernie Sanders is getting a little less serious, I think, to Hillary Clinton. Where's she sitting right now?
Well, I mean, I think that's, if you look at what the Democratic field looks like, or the prospective Democratic field, it is drastically different than it was 10 days ago because, not that Jim Webb and Lincoln Chafee were the biggest huge threats to her, but, the field is now 3 people. There's no threat of a 4th person, Joe Biden, joining the race. And so, if you're Hillary and you're looking at, okay, Bernie Sanders has been, he's risen in the polls. He's clearly a legitimate candidate. But if that's her biggest competition, it's a completely different landscape than it was 10 days ago.
Yeah. What happens now? This is just me thinking out loud. What happens to Martin O'Malley in a 3-person race? Does he just get buried even more?
I think the argument his people would make is, well, there's fewer of us now. So, the 2 people who were supporting Jim Webb in that last poll are going to be maybe perhaps supporting Martin O'Malley.
There you go.
But no, I think it really, having Biden removed from this, well, not removed from the race, but removed from the possibility of the race, means that it's a 2-man race. It's Hillary versus Bernie. And I don't know what happens to O'Malley in that. He'll certainly get a little more time on stage at the next debate since it's just 3 of them. But his time on stage didn't seem to do much for him in Vegas. So
that wasn't his issue. Yeah, he got to speak plenty. It just didn't really stick with anybody. Hey, Jamie, pull up that first clip from Biden on 60 Minutes last night, because all last week we were speculating, will he, won't he, what's going to happen, whether or not Joe Biden is going to get in. And he made it very clear on CNN, or on 60 Minutes, where he talked about why he didn't get in.
Couldn't win. I'll be very blunt. If I thought we could have put together the campaign that our supporters deserved and our contributors deserved, I would have gone ahead and done it.
I will say, the candor of Joe Biden throughout this whole decision has been awfully refreshing. He didn't say, it's just at this time I'd like to spend some time with my family, and we're still sort of in the grieving.
Which would have been a completely and utterly, appropriate response, too.
Yeah, totally. That's fine.
More so for him than for anybody else.
Yeah, of course. And people have just sort of mastered that answer in #ThisTown, right? They got it down, right?
Yes.
But he was saying, I'm thinking about running. I just don't know if I can run. I want to talk to my family. We're still mourning. It's a tough time. The thing that he did on Colbert, where he went out and talked about grief, rip your heart out. And so just the fact that,
which is both the very thing that's appealing about him and the very reason that perhaps he wouldn't have done it.
Yeah. So I want to. We mentioned the debate and the time that people got in the debate. There's a very interesting moment in the debate that I picked up on, and I knew it was going to come back because now we're at this point where Hillary and Bernie are both kind of sharpening their claws a little bit, right? It was very buddy at the debate where, I don't want to hear about your damn emails anymore.
It's a pretty good impression.
Thank you. I've been working on my Bernie.
You should hear Bill's.
No, you shouldn't. No. But so they were kind of buddy, but now they gotta come out swinging a little bit. And Hillary Clinton brought up something that he talked about at the debate, where he said all the shouting in the world will not keep guns out of the wrong hands. So Hillary Clinton said at this Jefferson Jackson dinner in Iowa, quote, "I haven't been shouting, but sometimes when a woman speaks out, some people think that it's shouting." Which is a fair point for her to make, by the way. I think it's a totally fair point. So what's going to happen when Bernie and Hillary start sort of butting heads a little bit?
Well, I think, between her saying that and everything that he said at the Jefferson Jackson dinner, going on, not calling her out by name, not calling her husband out by name, but saying, look, TPP, for example, there was a right answer. I'm going to give you one answer today, and it's the same answer I'm going to give you tomorrow. And, gay rights, for example, let's talk about the 90s. Gay rights. I was for this at a time when it was unpopular, and some people weren't, and some people pay attention to the polls. And it's actually, if you look back at what Obama said at that same dinner in 2007, this quote about governing by principle and not by polls, Bernie said almost the exact same thing this time.
That's funny.
8 years later.
There's a weird correlation between the Bernie and the Obama thing, right? I think Obama's got the youth and the organization, but the fact that Bernie can go and get those small donations the way that Obama did, and that he's sort of hitting the base a little bit differently, and some of the outsiders, right?
They're so drastically different as personalities.
Oh yeah,
as
I don't think they could get anywhere. Right.
But it's interesting that they've appealed to the same section of the Democratic electorate.
Yeah, totally. All right. Lots to talk about with Emily Schultheis. She's in studio with me, Peter Ogden. We're going to take a quick break. We'll take your calls at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Quick break. We'll be right back.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
when I started learning about nutrition, about which, by the way, much less is known than you might think, I learned that what mattered most about one's health was not necessarily the nutrients, good or bad, that you were consuming or staying away from, or even the calorie counts. But what predicted a healthy diet more than anything else is the fact that it was being cooked by a human being and not a corporation. Corporations cook very differently than people do. They use vast amounts of salt, fat, and sugar, much more than you would ever use in your own cooking. And the reason they do that is those are three incredibly attractive and incredibly cheap ingredients. And when they're layered properly, as in a chip or pastries and forms of junk food, they're incredibly addictive. They really press our buttons. They activate our dopamine network, our cravings. And in fact, people in the industry, they don't talk about addiction in the food industry, even though they traffic in addiction. They talk about craveability. It's the same thing. And snackability is another term they use. It's a lovely word. And then the last point about corporate cooking that's important to understand is they cook different stuff than you do at home. What they're good at, in general, they don't cook that well, but things like chips, they cook incredibly well. And here's a classic food that if you make it yourself, if you've ever made French fries, you have to wash the potatoes, you have to peel the potatoes, you have to slice the potatoes, you have to fry them in a lot of oil, you have to spatter your entire stovetop, you have to clean up, and then you have this pot of oil you have to get rid of. I mean, it's really difficult, and it's a pain. They're wonderful, but it's a pain. And if you make them yourself, you'll only eat them every 6 weeks, 2 months, because it's too much work. But when you let corporations cook for you, it's so simple and so inexpensive, and they're really good, that you will have them twice a day, as many people in America do. So you see the kinds of foods you end up with are these labor-intensive foods and desserts. These special occasion foods become everyday foods when we let industry cook for us. Eat anything you want, just cook it yourself.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC. Or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
According to The Nation magazine, this is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, 26 minutes past the hour. My guest here is Emily Schultheis. She's a political reporter for National Journal. Go follow her on Twitter at EmilyRS. EmilyRS, and read her good work at nationaljournal.com. All right, so your piece I have here in my hot little hands. We're going to tweet out a link to this, by the way, at BP Show. Hillary Clinton celebrates her political fortune. And you talk a little bit, what we were hitting on earlier, about Hillary having such a great week and where she stands now. But she really is in a good position, and we really saw her not take a victory lap, but sort of embrace her good fortune at a rally in Virginia.
Well, Hillary is someone who, when she knows she's down or when she knows she has bad headlines, she can get very defensive. She can kind of take a step back. She can be very cautious. And so as someone who's, followed her around the country, to watch her come out onto stage and just look comfortable, to start shaking hands, to spend as much time as she can talking to people, you could tell she was feeling good. Yeah. And it's interesting that even from afar, you can tell that with her. One of the interesting things that you hit on in your piece is the unions who are going to start flocking to Hillary, because a lot of them were sort of biding their time. Oh,
nope,
did you
won't
really
let you get away with it.
I know. I every time I saw it on Twitter, I was like, ugh. But we're waiting to see what happened with Joe Biden, right? So now that it's just a Hillary-Bernie race, right? Like they can just say we're throwing our support here, which is a big deal for her. So we'll see where she progresses or where she goes from. When's the next Democratic debate? Do we know? We've got it on November 14th. Where's that? In Iowa. Oh, that's right, in Iowa. Yeah. Well, has Martin O'Malley gotten any traction on the more debates thing? It's not going to happen. I don't think so. I think the hard thing for Martin O'Malley is that it's not as if he had this brilliant breakout performance in the debate. He did fine, but for someone who is arguing, you need to give candidates like me more time on stage. What did he do with that time? Yeah. I think that makes it a little harder. In that end, the fact that the field is smaller now means it's probably unlikely, but all right, we'll see. We'll keep following it with you. Emily Schultheis from the National Journal. Thank you so much for coming in. Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Playing with the B team today. I appreciate that. The B team is a whole lot of fun. Yeah, we'll have you back in soon. Emily Schultheis, follow her on Twitter at EmilyRS, and read her great work at nationaljournal.com. It's the Bill Press Show. We're going to take a very quick break, and we'll be back. Remember to give us a call at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness.
My beauty.
My power.
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired.
Tapped.
And tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
the canyon maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Yes, it is. The Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Thank you for tuning in. Why am I thanking you? You should be doing this anyway. You should be listening to the show, right? It's an election cycle. You should be tuned in and getting informed, right? Am I right?
Oh, I was supposed to say you're right. You're right.
That's right. Thank you. I'm kidding. No, seriously. Thank you all for being here. October 26th on a Monday. What a weekend we had. By the way, I'm going to talk a little college football. I am going to use that clip that you mentioned, Jamie, that Georgia Tech clip, because I watched some of the Alabama-Tennessee game, because I'm a big Alabama Crimson Tide fan. Oh, man, was that a game? I swear I thought they were going to lose that game. I got so... I was watching that thing. It was down to, Alabama went ahead 19-14, and Tennessee had the ball, and I was like, they're gonna score. I was gonna vomit in my hands watching that game. It was just too much to watch. And then, of course, Alabama does what Alabama does. Got the ball back, ran the clock out. I was hoping they were gonna score on them again just to make a point, but they survived at home. Alabama's got a week off. And then November 7, LSU. That's going to be... Jamie doesn't watch college football, so I'm looking at him for some sort of guidance here, but he doesn't watch college football.
I don't, but this call that we're going to play, I got really excited about this because I love good sports calls.
I love
and good sports stories.
I love a good sports call. You know what I love more than a good sports call? A good home team sports call. When the homers take the mic. So Georgia Tech was playing Florida State, who was undefeated, if I'm not mistaken, and ranked. Georgia Tech's not ranked, and they took them on. This was unbelievable. As Florida State tries to kick a field goal, it gets blocked, and Georgia Tech picks up the ball and runs that John all the way back to win the game. Here is the call from Georgia Tech.
Kick is blocked! Georgia Tech blocks it! The Jackets pick it up back in the 25, and Austin is returning it down the left sideline. Past the 50, past the 30, inside the 20. You gotta be kidding me! And he scores! He scores! Lance Austin picked up the block kick and returned it all the way to the house of the north end zone. We've had the miracle on North Avenue. This is the miracle on Techwood Drive.
And the students are flooding the field. What an ending.
It was unbelievable. It was, as Cyprian has already pointed out, and something that I thought about, oddly reminiscent of the Auburn-Alabama game from a couple years ago, the kick six game.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that he didn't have you pull that up, Jamie, to play it. But I said during the game, the Alabama-Tennessee game, thank God Bama won, because if they had lost, I just knew that you two were going to come together and play Rocky Top on air this morning, and I would have burned the studio down. I would have burned it down with you in it. That's what I would have done. It would have been a disaster. But the Georgia Tech call is amazing, and good for Georgia Tech.
I'm working on a remix.
Are you?
To Rocky Top.
I'm sure you are. I'm sure you
For
are.
the next time.
Why did I even bring it up? All right, so I'm going to get outside of U.S. politics. This is kind of U.S. politics. We're going to get a little outside of U.S. politics here because this story is a very interesting story. It provides a very serious contrast between the way that we handle our business here in the United States and the way that the UK handles their business. So a memo leaked out of the White House last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, I guess, a week and a half ago. And you remember in the lead up to the Iraq War, Tony Blair, George W. Bush's boy, leading up to this, they were the two that were pushing military action in Iraq. Tony Blair was out there saying, we want to find a diplomatic solution. We want to find a way to make this work diplomatically. We don't want war. We don't want to go to war. That was the big thing from Tony Blair. Now, a smoking gun email, and this is from the Daily Mail, shows that Tony Blair essentially made what they're calling a deal in blood over the Iraq War, and said that they had determined that they were going to attack and invade a year before the invasion had even started. This happened in 2002. It was at a summit with George W. Bush, and it shows that Tony Blair was getting ready to sort of be George W. Bush's spin doctor. He had his back. That when George W. Bush said, we're going into Iraq, Tony Blair said, quote, the UK will follow your lead. And it was never, we're aiming for a diplomatic solution. It was never brought up in this memo. It was never put out that way. But Tony Blair publicly went out there and said that and pushed that. And the big difference here is we've had a lot of politicians and leaders from the George W. Bush era who, it turns out, were not so forthcoming in terms of torture and tarting up evidence to try and get to war. The intelligence failures that we know are failures, but people still stand by, a lot of these Republicans. But in England, they're not standing for it. They're demanding Tony Blair give answers. They're going after him, and they're saying, you lied to us. Tony Blair is trying to do some damage control. He talked about the Iraq War and what some of the consequences were.
Of course, you can't say that those of us who removed Saddam in 2003 bear no responsibility for the situation in 2015. It's important also to realize, one, that the Arab Spring, which began in 2011, would also have had its impact on Iraq today. And two, ISIS actually came to prominence from a base in Syria and not in Iraq.
So he's trying to spin and dance his way out of this in the light of the fact that they have pretty concrete evidence here that shows that, like, he helped lie his country into war. It's pretty messed up. It's a pretty terrible story. And it's something that happened here. Our president lied us into war. And, you know, people still let George W. Bush show his face in public and still look at him as some sort of revered figure. It's very, very interesting, the difference between the two.
Well, and not to mention George W. Bush was in a different light this past week where he came out against Ted Cruz.
George W. Bush still speaks for his party, right? He was a two-term president for the Republicans. I think that George W. Bush is a war criminal, but I also think he's right about Ted Cruz. I mean, I just don't like the guy.
But when he does stuff like this, it sort of humanizes him, right? Which
Absolutely.
is similar to Boehner when the Pope came to visit, the crying. I mean, Boehner's always been a crier, but that particular instance, my mom called. She said, I kind of like John Boehner now, just for that single moment.
You know what's interesting is, and we've talked about this before with Libby Watson, who's coming here. The difference between the way that the British public treats their politicians and the way that we treat our politicians, right? Like, they will, in Britain, they will absolutely destroy their politicians because they get it. Politicians work to serve you. They work to serve the people. That has been so lost here in this country. We look at them as rock stars, right? Like we put out funny little videos with our, like look how cute they are. Look at this one little out of context statement that's kind of humorous. So that must mean that they're real and human and we have to give them sympathy. No. A lot of these people are the worst of the worst.
There's not going to be any Sunday morning fluffy segments on former presidents painting cats.
Right, exactly.
It's just not going to happen in the UK.
That's the big difference. They will not stand for this type of moppishness, whereas we will and find it almost kind of endearing in how sort of goofy George W. Bush was. Oh, isn't he just a scamp? He's just the funniest guy. Look at the way he lied us into war. We'll do that here. They won't do that in England. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. We'll talk some politics when we come back. We'll take a quick break. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Mr. Bill Press today. Bill's going to be back later on this week, by the way. So stay with us, won't you?
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is why you took a second job. While you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. While you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hi there. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today. It's a Monday, October 22nd, 46 minutes past the hour. Oh, come on. I've tried to tweet something, and it's all frozen. I'm like an old man now.
Do you need me to tweet it for you, Peter?
Yeah, I'm going to get one of my, or as Donald Trump would say, I'm going to get one of my young interns to hit the retweets for me. Oh, there it is. I got it. I'm tweeting out the screenshot of the story I'm about to talk about. Hang on. There we go. All right. It's out now. See there? Here's the headline. Here's the headline, though. Listen to me. This is from the Washington Post. Hot dogs, bacon, and other processed meats cause cancer, according to the World Health Organization. This just came across in a breaking news alert, which, by the way, if anything deserved a breaking news alert, it's this.
Wait, hot dogs, bacon, you said too?
Bacon and other processed meats.
We put hot dogs, it's fine. You add bacon to that.
Bacon is a real problem. By the way, I ate a hot dog. When was the last time you ate a hot dog besides at like a baseball game? You eat a hot dog.
I don't know.
If you eat a hot dog outside
Camping.
of a baseball game, camping is also acceptable.
Red hot dog.
You're just asking for trouble. You're just gambling. It's disgusting.
Well, I read I thought you were going to say there's a report earlier this week saying this like food analytics startup found traces of human DNA in hot dogs.
That's
disturbing too.
That's horrible. The World Health Organization, which is a big deal, by the way, talking about cancer and all this, which probably means, by the way, red meat. Yeah, it says it right here. Red meat probably does too. So there you go. Happy Monday. We're off to a great start. 22-member panel of international experts took a look and said that, so we're all going to die. By the way, everybody talks about how great bacon is. Which, by the way, bacon is fine. I like bacon. But like the whole bacon hysteria, put bacon on everything. A little over.
Yeah, it's like mustaches, you know.
It's like mustaches.
It's a little like mustaches.
It's a little like mustaches.
Yeah.
You're gonna need to expound on that just a little bit.
I'm just gonna have our listeners just stew on that.
You're gonna let them. I don't know what you just said. Hot dogs and mustaches, one and the same, according to Jamie Benson. Yeah, okay. So there you go. Still no cure for cancer, but we found out that hot dogs, bacon, and other processed meat cause cancer. Okay, I want to talk some 2016 stuff. I want to play the second Ben Carson clip because those who have who have followed Ben Carson know that this is nothing new for him, by the way, when he says that when he compares abortion to slavery. So just, by the way, just to put it into context a little bit more here, he is on, where was he? He's on Meet the Press, right?
Meet the Press.
He's on Meet the Press. And he was talking about
abortion.
Women that are victims of rape and incest who are forced to keep the babies, right? And this is what he's talking about. And he talks about this. He compares it to slavery again.
Think about this. During slavery, and I know that's one of those words you're not supposed to say, but I'm saying it. During slavery, a lot of the slave owners thought that they had the right to do whatever they wanted to that slave. Anything that they chose to do. And, what if the abolitionist had said, I don't believe in slavery. I think it's wrong. But you guys do whatever you want to do. Where would we be?
Okay. So, just for the sake of clarification, nothing is as bad as slavery except for slavery. Nothing is as bad as the Holocaust except for the Holocaust, right? Ben Carson has made a political career out of comparing things to the worst things that's ever happened to this planet, right? Like, he's compared Obamacare to slavery, or did he compare that to the Holocaust? He compared to one or the other. He's compared things to both.
I'm going to guess his next one.
Yeah.
Trail of Tears.
Trail of Tears is a good one. Trail of Tears is a good one. Abortion is literally like the Trail of Tears.
It's got to have an American tie to it.
Yes.
So I think that's the
good.
next logical
I think that would be perfect for Ben Carson. I mean, I should say President Carson, who's leading in some of these trolls, some of these polls in Iowa. But it's this whole refighting old battles that have already been put to bed and won. that is just going to be a real problem for Republicans, not just Ben Carson. Like, that's obviously a dumb one and a problem. And we fought the abortion fight, and it's been won. It's over. But then you got Marco Rubio, which, by the way, is a young, vibrant politician from Florida. And he, on the debate stage the first time around, says he doesn't believe in abortion for rape or incest either. And he talked this weekend about gay marriage. Here's that first clip. Go ahead, Jamie. Hit the first clip.
In Florida, we actually passed a constitutional amendment that defined marriage as one man and one woman, and it was the Supreme Court basically overturned it with that decision. It basically ignored and wiped out the judgment of the people of Florida.
That's not how it works. That's not how it works. He goes on. He says again.
I've never believed that the definition of marriage belongs at the federal level, and I do not believe that there's a constitutional amendment, that there's a constitutional right for two people of the same sex to get married.
He's been listening and taking civics lessons from Mike Huckabee, right? When the Supreme Court speaks, the Supreme Court speaks. That's the law of the land, okay? I can't understand how a guy as young as Rubio just does not get it. Like, he still wants to fight these goofy issues. It's over. It's over. All right, we're going to take a quick break. 53 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn. You can always give me a call, by the way, at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Talk to you in a little bit.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
A few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear. We had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
would you like it back?
What do people really hate?
Yep.
Getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? Kissing Helga.
Hey, big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags? Okay, now pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat this rat. Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like a bag?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
5 cents? 5 cents? Do I still have the option of getting punched?
Honestly, I don't know how everyone else missed it.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
This is the Bill Press Show.
Yes, it is the Bill Press Show. 57 minutes past the hour. A jam-packed show coming up in the third hour. Make sure you're watching youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR. We have Tierney, Sneed from Talking Points Memo in studio. We've got Olivia Nuzzi from the Daily Beast in studio. And we've got Amy Parnes from The Hill. She's going to be joining us via telephone. All the ladies in the third hour of the show. Let's take a look at the presidential schedule today. 10 o'clock, the president receives the presidential daily briefing. And then at 11:10, the president holds a meeting with teachers and educators with Secretary of Education Arne Duncan will be there as well. At 12:20, the president attends a luncheon hosted by Senator Tom Daschle and at the Metropolitan Club in Washington, D.C. This will be closed press for that. 2:40, the president holds a bilateral meeting with President Widodo of Indonesia. President Widodo. Shout out. That's going to be at the Oval Office. And then at 4:20, blaze it, the president will meet with the Secretary of State John Kerry in the Oval Office. It's down as 4:20, yo. They're going to be meeting in the Oval Office. Press briefing by Josh Earnest at 12:45. Of course, Bill, who is usually there tweeting from the press briefing, will not be there. He is on the left coast for a couple of days.
No gotcha questions today.
No gotcha questions for Mr. Press, but he will be back later on this week, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. But for now, you got me, and again, you're going to want to catch this third hour of the program. Lots of good stuff coming up. So my name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today, at least for one more hour today. And we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The hardest moments for me is when I'm laying awake in the middle of the night and I'm thinking about all the times I made a pitcher of Kool-Aid with the water, or I boiled a pot of corn or potatoes with the water. Those thoughts just stick with me in the middle of the night, and I feel horrible as a mom that I didn't know that something was wrong, but how could I have known? There's no way I would have known.
The spill at Dan River happened when a drainage pipe that ran underneath an ash basin and dam collapsed, sucking out 6 decades of waste and spewing gunk directly into the river.
My husband and I just kind of looked at each other like, should we be concerned? We live right next to an ash pond, and this was coal ash spilling into the Dan River, and we learned at that point all of the toxins that were included in coal ash.
A situation like Dan River, where there was a catastrophic disaster, gets people's attention, but the fact is that these coal ash pits have been leaking and poisoning people's groundwater and the state's surface waters for decades. Coal ash is the residue left behind after coal is burned in a coal-fired power plant. A large coal-fired power plant can burn 10 million tons of coal a year. When the organic matter in the coal is burned away, what's left behind are these trace minerals, things like arsenic, lead, mercury, selenium, and chromium. And these are highly concentrated. The coal ash can have concentrations of these contaminants that are 10 to 100 times greater than the level in the coals themselves.
Coal ash pond number 1 is right behind my house, literally pretty much in my backyard. We were approached by a neighbor who was wanting to have their well tested, and we decided that maybe we should have ours tested as well. They found hexavalent chromium at 4.5 parts per billion.
So in talking to the residents, we have discovered anecdotal evidence of an extraordinary number of cancers for this fairly small community.
some of us in the community got together. We started kind of talking about all the cancer that we've seen in some of our family friends in this community. I think we had somewhere in the neighborhood of around 70 names. So we had some help from our river keepers putting a map together. And it was a little shocking to see it. You know, I still have a hard time looking at it.
Technically, EPA has not regulated coal ash as a hazardous waste, but it is undeniable that coal ash contains many, many hazardous substances that are hazardous, in fact, to people and the environment. And the only reason they have not been regulated as such is because of intense lobbying efforts by the coal industry and its allies.
A lot of these chemicals are simple elements, but when you find them at the levels that they exist in around coal ash ponds, then you're starting to talk about cancer, brain tumors, you're talking about birth defects, developmental problems, neurotoxicity.
We began to look at legal options, cases that we could bring in court to protect communities and their citizens from these toxic leaking time bombs. In 2002, North Carolina enacted a public financing mechanism for judicial elections. This kept private money out of judicial elections.
The repeal of the public financing program in judicial elections in North Carolina creates a dangerous precedent for all, and it gives corporate polluters and other special interests the opportunity to elect the judges that they want. And this is important for us all. Everyone should care about this, because when you think about the fact that the state and the federal government have basically abdicated their responsibility to regulate these issues, the state courts are the last stopgap.
I think this is no longer a problem that's going to go under the radar. It has been exposed, and I am confident that we will ultimately, with the facts, win out and ensure that we have protected waterways.
And so this is something that we all should care about. If we're worried about the water we drink and the air we breathe, we have to be concerned about money in judicial elections.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, Monday, October 26th. I'm clearly not Bill Press. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill today. Bill's going to be back later on this week. He's on the left coast for a couple of days. Had a big event with our station in Eureka over the weekend. It went well, by the way, according to the tweets, and Mr. Press texted me, so it was a good turnout. So good stuff. So you're going to have a couple of guest hosts here for the first couple of days this week, and then Bill will be back. We are streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR-TV. We're also on Free Speech TV on DirecTV and Dish Network. And we are tweeting at BP Show, I'm also tweeting at Peter Ogburn, but you should probably just follow the BP Show account. Running the board this morning is Jamie Benson. Jamie, good to see you, sir.
Hey, good morning.
And screening your calls at 866-55-PRESS. 866-557-7377 is Ray Rogers standing by, and Cyprian Bolding is running those cameras so that you can see what the show looks like. Thank you all for being here today. Lots of stuff to talk about with Tierney Sneed. She is political reporter for Talking Points Memo. Thank you so much for coming in.
Good morning.
You're playing with the B team today, all right?
Yeah, it's fun.
You got the JV team.
Glad to be here. I can shine without Bill, competing with Bill.
Yeah, come on, let's do it. Lots and lots of stuff to talk about. But I do want to play this clip because this clip really bugs me for a lot of different reasons. So it's a great time to be a comic books fan, right? Like, there are good comic book movies out. They're legitimately good comic book movies. They're doing TV shows now. The comics are getting better. I mentioned earlier, like, Ta-Nehisi Coates is writing for the Black Panther comic books now. Like, it's a moment, right? And what's cool is there are also, like, little girls or even, like, you know, older girls who like reading comic books. And there are, like, cool women superheroes now. Like, Captain Marvel's got a movie coming out. There's a Wonder Woman movie coming out. And then the Supergirl TV show is coming out. Jeb Bush thinks it's going to look good, but not for reasons that you might think.
I saw that there's a Supergirl is on TV. I saw it when I was working out this morning. There's an ad promoting Supergirl. She looked pretty hot.
Great.
I just don't know how to react to that.
It's so dopey. It's just like the dopiest thing. It's like if there are any girls out there who are legitimately into comic books and they hear Jeb Bush, like, oh, it looks pretty good because she looks pretty hot. It's like, come on, dude.
And early reviews of that TV show are talking about how there's feminist themes throughout.
Of course.
Jeb Bush didn't know that.
Supergirl, by the way, is a terrible comic book character. For the same reason that Superman is a terrible comic book character. Right? And Cyprian gets mad at me every time I say this, but Superman is the worst comic book character ever. Ever. All right? So, but I'll tune in and watch Supergirl.
Who's your favorite superhero?
Of all time?
All time.
Wolverine.
Really?
Yeah, that's right.
I would have guessed Batman.
Batman's up there. Do you have, Tierney is looking at me like I am a certified lunatic.
No judgment here. No judgment.
A certified lunatic.
We all have our hobbies.
All right, I'm gonna.
This is what happened with the B team hosts.
Yeah, this is what happens when Bill's not here. Just so you know. Oh boy, yeah, Wolverine. That's the greatest of all time, Jamie. That's the correct answer.
All right.
Why, do you have another one?
No, I mean, I'd probably pick Batman. I was a big Green Lantern fan for a while.
What?
I don't know. Probably the Celtics, the green. Let's just
move on. Let's just move on before this gets even worse. Okay. Lots of good stuff coming up with Tierney, but first,
this
Jamie's
is the
got some
Full
headlines.
Court Press.
All right, just a couple of other stories for you on this Monday morning. Peter, I'm taking all of your Halloween stories for the week.
Hit me.
Last night, the 26th Treehouse of Horror.
Oh yeah, I got it on the TiVo.
Yeah,
we'll watch that later.
It made the news for one big storyline, and that is, spoiler, you haven't seen it yet, Bart Simpson gets killed.
Oh, whoa, really?
Yeah, Sideshow Bob, voiced by Kelsey Grammer, finally gets to kill Bart Simpson in the 26th Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. The good news is, it's kind of like a South Park Kenny situation. It was a one-night-only type thing. It's a cartoon. They're never going to keep up with those storylines. Simpsons executive producer Al Jean commented, quote, "You never saw the Roadrunner lose. This time you do."
No kidding.
And Kelsey Grammer also was asked about the storyline, saying he was quite satisfied that his character finally got what he was wishing
I'm good with that. I'm sure he'll come back. You know what else I saw? I haven't watched it yet, but the opening, the couch gag was done by John Cristofalusi, the guy that did Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
Which is like one of my favorite shows of all time.
A nice little nod, especially for Halloween.
Yeah.
Speaking of Halloween, an unfortunate story out of Decatur City, Alabama. A school district employee named Heath Morrow dressed up as, guess what, for Halloween?
I don't want to guess. In Alabama, I don't want to guess.
No. He dressed up in blackface as Kanye West. We still have these in 2015. His wife, Shannon Morrow, posted the offensive photo to her Facebook page. She dressed as Kim Kardashian with leopard print spike heels to boot. She commented on the photo, haha, some people thought he was really a black man. Decatur City, Alabama, they appointed their first ever black fire chief in 2014.
I can't even with that story.
So,
Jesus.
Here we go.
Christ.
In positive news, we had some not so great news out of the NBA over the weekend. Some cool news, especially for Mr. Peter Ogburn here. The San Antonio Spurs, his team, their head coach Greg Popovich has been named the head coach of the USA basketball team.
Big fan.
Popovich will take over for the team's 2017 training camp. He, of course, will succeed Mike Krzyzewski. Ooh, haven't tried that on air yet.
That's pretty good, though.
Popovich will coach the team at the 2019 World Cup. They call it the World Cup now, by the way. Used to call it the World Basketball Championships.
Yeah, right.
Learning from the soccer folks. And in the 2020 Olympics, should the U.S. qualify, I don't think they're going to have any trouble there. Popovich has sat on that bench before. He was an assistant to the U.S. team in the 2002 World Championships and the 2004 Olympics. Two outings that did not go very well for the U.S. I don't know if you remember those.
Oh, yeah.
2002, sixth place in the World Championships, even though we were playing in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
2004, third place until Coach Krzyzewski.
This is a good move. This is a good move, though.
I'm excited for it.
I mean, who else could you possibly get, right? What other coach is as good as Pop? No.
Brad Stevens.
All right. Thank you, Jamie. All right. Let's talk about the big news with Tierney Sneed, political reporter for Talking Points Memo, joining us in studio. Okay, Tierney, so it's all but over, right? I mean, Paul Ryan is going to be the next Speaker of the House, right?
Yeah, it seems like that's what we're going to see this week, elections later this week. And I think kind of the question moving forward now is if he can do a better job than Speaker Boehner in handling this group of 40 or so members who seem to like to revolt against leadership. You know, when he stepped into the race, Paul Ryan said he had all these sort of conditions that he has since now softened to get their support. So you got to wonder if he kind of backed down from that fight so quickly just to even step into the race, you know, what's going to happen, you know, in a week or two from now when we're either passing the debt ceiling or, you know, looking at government funding, if he's going to be able to kind of keep the upper hand or if, again, he's going to be kind of bargaining with them to get them back on board.
As a fan of catastrophes, right? Like as a fan of things going boom, I think this is great. Like I don't see how this is going to end well for Paul Ryan. Talk about the Freedom Caucus a little bit, because when he sort of laid out his list of demands of everything he had to have, the support of everybody was one of the things he mentioned. So he
kind of got it.
Kind of, sort of got it.
So he said he wanted the endorsement of the Freedom Caucus and two other groups that, you know, kind of span the kind of spectrum you see in the Republican conference. And he didn't get the full endorsement. You need 80% of support. He got just the support, which was, I think they said about 2/3 of their members said they were going to support him, which is enough for the votes that he needed, but it wasn't the full, you know, ringing endorsement that I think he wanted going into the.
He definitely did not want.
And to get that support, he had to spend a lot of time talking to him. And another condition that he brought up was to de-weaponize, I think is the term he used, this tool called the motion to vacate, which is what this Freedom Caucus used to constantly threaten Boehner with, is to, you know, kind of overthrow him. And Paul Ryan wanted to take that off the table, and they said, no, how dare you even think to, you know, take away this tool of ours that we love so dearly. So now it seems like they're kind of punting on discussing how they're going to change that rule, but it seems like that's still going to be something they can hold over his head, at least for the short term.
So one of the things that, and this is a little inside baseball, but stick with us, because one of the jobs of the speaker is to hit the road and raise money. He's not exactly good with that, right?
Well, his thing is he did another one of his conditions was that he would have, you know, his weekends to spend with his family. He has some small children back in Wisconsin, and I did hear a lot of members last week kind of say, you know, we all have small children, but that's, you know, in the job description, you have to give your weekends to fundraising, because, that was something that Speaker Boehner really did spend his weekends raising a lot of money. Paul Ryan's defenders say that, he is effective and he can raise that money even without giving up all his time. So we'll have to wait and see how he does on that. But that was also another red flag for some of his critics on the Hill, I think, who saw that as a sign that his heart fully wasn't into the job.
By sort of throwing this list of things that he must have, right? Like, did he piss anybody off, right? Like, I could see how that would happen.
It was the irony of it all was that these Freedom Caucus members have kind of always had their demands, and before Ryan even jumped in the race, they had this questionnaire with all these questions of what they wanted to see, and they were just shocked that someone would come and demand some things from him. And of course, in this moment of chaos, Paul Ryan had that leverage because everyone was kind of looking to him to be their kind of white savior. But now that he said he's going to do it, that he kind of loses that leverage. And, he hasn't gotten, when these caucus members said that they were going to support him, they said, we do not, agree to his demands, and made clear that they're not supporting his demands in that sense. So he doesn't really even have that leverage anymore.
I'm just going to play devil's avocado for a second here. So
Go for it.
Let's say he becomes speaker, which it looks like it's going to go that way, and they completely revolt or turn on. I'm talking specifically about this Freedom Caucus. And they just completely just turn their backs on him, go against this whole 80% endorsing him or whatever, right? Like, how do you handle that? Because, they're not above that.
Yeah. If you're talking about, some of these deadlines we have coming up, we have the debt ceiling in about a week. We have government funding in December. We have a transportation bill. He's going to have the same choice that Boehner had, which is either continue to try to, get them back on board, or he can reach across the aisle and get Democratic votes. And, a lot of Democrats have said that they like Paul Ryan. They respect Paul Ryan. He was behind the deal with Patty Murray a couple years back that, kept the government open and avoided another crisis. So he's been proven to be someone who is willing to negotiate with the other side. But the thing is that really ticks off all these conservatives and doesn't do you any favors in terms of keeping them on board. So I think we're going to see in the next couple weeks, it's going to be a baptism by fire. We're going to see how he handles these crises and whether he's willing to kind of tick off these hardline conservatives and maybe reach across the aisle to make up their votes, or if he's going to fall into the same trap that Speaker Boehner did.
I can't wait to see how that's all going to play out, because nobody wants that job. Nobody wants that job. And it's I love the way that he sort of painted himself as
the martyr taking it.
I'm willing to take that. I'm willing to be Pope if I was Catholic, but this idea that he's going to be the savior. First of all, Paul Ryan is sort of a loser, right? He couldn't even win his home state when he was on the ticket with Mitt Romney. He's a nice guy, but politically,
he already had his dream job at Ways and Means,
Right, that's what he wanted.
So, I think there is a lot of curiosity about how much earnestly he wanted it, and maybe he was just playing hard to get, or if he did really just not want it but was begged into it. I think that's one of those kind of questions we'll see more clearly as we see how he handles all these situations coming up. But go figure.
All right, we got lots more to talk about. Let's take a quick break. We'll break a little early here, Jamie, so we got time on the other side here. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today with Tierney Sneed. She is the political reporter for Talking Points Memo. Follow her at Tierney_Megan, Megan, and we'll be right back. Very quick break.
Follow us on Twitter at BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you come.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, 25 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today, along with Tierney Sneed, political reporter for Talking Points Memo, in studio. Thank you for coming in, Tierney. Appreciate that. All right, so let's talk about what happens now with, of all things, Obamacare, because they're still trying to repeal this in the House,
This
right?
is the great white whale for
I know.
Republicans, is repealing Obamacare.
How many times have they tried to repeal it now, or actually voted to repeal?
I can't even keep track of
It's
in
like
the House.
it's up in like 50s or 60s.
Yeah, it's up there. So they just embarked on a new plan that the House passed on Friday, and what they're going to use is this procedure called reconciliation, which is supposed to be about reducing the deficit. But they're trying to use that as a way to get through a Obamacare repeal, because in the Senate it only requires a majority, 51 votes. It doesn't require the 60 that Democrats use to filibuster. So the idea is we can overcome a Democratic filibuster, and it can be on the president's desk, and he can repeal it. But at least we can go home and tell our constituents, we actually did something, as opposed to just these show votes. And then in 2017, when there's presumably in their mind, a Republican in the White House, they can
Mhm.
again use the same method, not worry about a Democratic filibuster and repeal it for real that time. The problem now is, so the House passed it, it's supposed to go to the Senate, and there's a weird rule with using this procedure that it has to reduce the deficit, and the Congressional Budget Office has found if you repeal all of Obamacare just as is wholesale, it actually adds to the deficit.
Whoops.
So they have to be very kind of particular in what exactly they target and how they target it. So it will reduce the deficit to be kind of legal according to parliamentary rules. So they're not repealing the whole thing. They're doing they're doing some of the unpopular stuff, employer mandate, individual mandate, the Cadillac tax. But they're leaving alone the Medicaid expansion and the subsidies for the exchanges. And so some Republicans are now saying it doesn't go far enough. So we have 3 Republicans.
Well, that's like always the case, by the way, right? Like
3 Republicans in the Senate, Mike Lee, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz. Probably not a coincidence 2 out of those 3 are running for president, who said last week they don't want to support it because it doesn't go far enough. So now that leaves us with just enough Republican senators, but if one more bails and the whole plan.
It's like,
and Heritage Action, the conservative, wing to the Heritage, the think tank said they also oppose it because it doesn't go far enough. So I mean, they might still be able to get it through, but it just kind of goes to show that forget replacing Obamacare, even repealing Obamacare, no one can seem to agree how they want to do it.
Those fires are still burning hot,
Yeah.
man. Boy, they just hate them some Obamacare. It's so funny. Well, we'll see if they are able to pull something like that off. All right, Tierney Sneed, political reporter for Talking Points Memo. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Always fun to talk about this stuff with you. Hope to talk again soon.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you coming in with the JV team.
It's been fun.
All right, we'll talk to you again soon. Tierney Sneed, again, political reporter for Talking Points Memo. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Before now, it's been difficult for criminals like us to know which states have loose gun laws. How would a criminal like me know which states permit me to carry loaded guns in their amusement parks, golf courses, or beaches?
I have some violent friends. We all wear leather jackets and scream at women. And we want to find out which states we can buy and sell guns easily.
CrimAdvisor.com. That's the site to find out where it's easiest for felons and fugitives to buy, carry, and even traffic guns.
That's why I love Arizona, where I can go see the beautiful Grand Canyon and carry a loaded gun without even having to get a background check.
You would fail that background check.
I'm sure of it. Now, what about a road trip? What states can I go to fill my trunk with guns and take it back home for my even more dangerous friends?
CrimAdvisor has a list for that.
That's so unreasonable.
Our traffickers' top 10.
Nevada. What happens in Vegas may have to stay in Vegas, but your guns don't. Bring them over to California and sell them.
The market up there is hungry. Hungry for guns.
I understand that CrimAdvisor.com will tell me which states really cater to us criminals and creeps, but what about the states where we're not so welcome? The ones that don't get us?
I don't even like saying the name of these states, but California, Connecticut, Maryland, and New York all have laws to keep guns out of the hands of people like us.
I want to shoot California so bad.
Boo, California.
Boo, go home. Wow. CrimAdvisor.com has all this information?
Sure does.
CrimAdvisor.com. Plan your perfect getaway. Oh, like TripAdvisor.
Oh.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies. In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, 33 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Still lots of good show ahead, I'm telling you. We got so much stuff to talk about. Did you have a good weekend, Jamie?
I had a good weekend.
Yeah? I had a good weekend. You want to hear about it?
It was a relaxing weekend. Yeah, I do.
Too bad. I'm going to tell you about it anyway.
All right.
Here's the deal.
I'll just shut up.
So some of you might know this. So I do this. This is my full-time job, and then some. And then outside of this, I do a lot of freelance writing. I do some food writing. I write for a couple different publications. But I did my very first cooking class over the weekend. Now you've heard Bill talk about the Hill Center, which is in the neighborhood. And it's a cool community center where they have all different types of classes, and they have a professional kitchen, and they sell cooking classes for people to go there. So they did one with me, and it was cooking with your kids, all about Halloween. So one of the things that I always do at Halloween, which you guys don't know this yet, but when you grow up and you have kids, the best part about going trick-or-treating is you get tanked. And you just walk around the neighborhood with beers or whatever. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. It's the greatest. And the kids, they're just doing their thing. They're just out to get the candy. And I always strap on a backpack full of beer and we hit the road.
How many beers are we talking?
However many I can fit in my backpack. I mean, it's a decent amount. But we have people over with their kids, and then I cook a bunch of food, and we eat, and then we go out and we go trick or treating with our booze. So I did this class that was, and they're usually sort of themed-ish, right? Like one year I did all stuff that was offcuts and awful and gross things, right? Like pig blood. I did a blood sausage thing. And so I did a cooking class for parents and their kids at the Hill Center. It was all Halloween stuff. So I did ribs. Right, because what's more Halloween than a big old plate of bones, right? And then I did little green alien heads that we get to chop up, which were actually just Brussels sprouts. Oh. And then I did fingerling potatoes that were roasted and then made a little warm salad thing.
Big into body parts.
Yeah, right, right. And so, and then you get to do it two ways, right? So you get the roasted Brussels sprouts the kids love, and they like those. And I did another one with a fish sauce vinaigrette, which. That was the scariest part for the kids because somebody asked me what's fish sauce, and to explain to them, it's basically just rotten fish juice, which
essentially.
But that's
what it smells like.
Respect. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's they take the guts of a fish and they just salt it and then let it rot, and then all that liquid that comes off, that's fish sauce, and it's delicious. It's super delicious. And I had to keep explaining to the kids it tastes nothing like what it smells because it smells like a dead cab driver. It's the worst smell in the world, but it tastes wonderful. So I finally convinced all these kids to do it. But here's the deal: there were I swear to God, man, there were 12 kids.
That's a lot.
Plus my kids, plus their parents. It was a lot of kids. It was a lot of kids. So I had to. First of all, I have to wash my mouth because
You're prone to lapses.
I've been known to use. I have a little bit of a potty mouth off air, so I was good though. I behaved. I never let any of those slip. But it was really cool. It was a lot of fun, and I was so excited that I got all these kids to try this these fish sauce Brussels sprouts because like a lot of them actually went in and tried it.
That's exciting.
It was a success. I feel good about it.
Do you plan on making the dishes again for Halloween this weekend?
I might, although we're not having a big party this weekend. We're just doing our own thing. So I don't think so.
All right.
But then after that, I had to go to a Halloween party, which I saw you there. Eventually,
I was a little late. All right. I had things to do. I had an engagement at. It started at 7 and
Hold up.
ran late. And
I'm gonna pull up the texts between me and Jamie because I'll make sure that I don't get you in any trouble here. So this started at 8:30. We left it off with Jamie saying, "I'm making a concerted effort to be there." 2 hours later, I ask him, "Where are you?" He says, "I just sat down for dinner. I'll probably get there at 11:30. I said, "Okay, do your thing." But I usually turn into a pumpkin around midnight. Midnight for me, once I hit midnight, I've messed up. Something bad has happened. I've either been overserved or something, but I need to get home if it hits midnight. So, all right, 11 o'clock. Jamie, I'll be there in 20.
That some of the next texts need to be redacted. By
I understand. I'm not going to get you in any trouble, trust me. 11 minutes later, I just parked. That was me. I tell him, I just parked. 30 minutes later, I text him, "Yo." And Jamie responds immediately, "Walking up now." And then 14 minutes later, almost there. What house number? I give him the house number at 11:56, and then he finally finds his way in. 5 minutes after that.
And around the same time, our colleague Clinton Yates.
I was going to say, Clinton Yates was there.
Was with you. And I didn't know Clinton Yates was with you. And at 11:42, he texts me, "So, where you at?" And I said, "Walking up to Igor's party." And he responds 5 minutes later, "Apparently, you're having trouble with that."
You were having some problems.
It's Saturday night. It's free flowing. Everybody's doing their own thing.
I understand.
Why can't I do my own thing?
I understand.
Plus, I was walking. I was saving money. It was a nice night.
Where did you walk from?
I walked
West
from my
Virginia?
house.
I mean, Jesus, man, it took you forever. It was a great party. We saw a lot of our friends were there.
It was.
It was a nice night out. We hung out in the back a little bit. It was perfect.
I don't know what I'm going to do this weekend. The Wizards open their season.
Do you go?
Halloween night.
Do you dress up?
No, but I was talking this morning with Ray. I think I got so much stuff from pro Halloween folks this weekend saying, "Why don't you dress up? It's so much fun." That I think I've been pushed over the edge, and I think I'm going to dress up.
Yeah?
I don't know if I'm going to wear a costume to the Wizards game on Halloween night, but I think
What are you gonna
afterward,
wear?
if I'm going out, I don't know. I literally made this decision this morning that I'm finally going to re-enter the Halloween.
Ray, do you dress up? You dress up?
She does from time to time. She's thinking about Pinocchio this year, right?
Yeah.
She's got short hair right now, so
that's
it'll
good.
make a lot of sense. I think it'll be.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. I'm a grown ass man, so I don't dress up for Halloween. That's just. I did last year. I dressed up. I put a body pillow, like a big pillow under my shirt. I put some fake Coke all over my face, and I was sexy Rob Ford. And I served chicken wings to all the trick or treaters.
Well played.
But over the course of the night, it just became like a thing, right? Like I just got sort of tired of it. It just whatever. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to dress up this year.
I'd like to know how many of our listeners dress up.
I would love to hear that. Send me a tweet or call us, 866-55-PRESS, or tweet us at BP Show and let me know what you're dressing up as.
But here's the thing. We're going to be talking about Halloween all week. I've been talking about Halloween for 2 weeks already. It's one of those holidays that's not even a real holiday, by the way.
It's not.
That's just stretched out.
Yeah.
You stretch it out as far as possible.
I'm pretty excited that it's on a Saturday. Like last year it was on a Friday, and that was cool, but like a Saturday you get to wake up late. You get to do a little day drinking. You get to wait until it gets dark enough out to go out.
Yeah.
I'm on board. My kids, by the way, are both Marvel characters. I've got one Thor. Magnus is going to be Thor. And then Gray is going to be Deadpool, which was
wow,
so hard to find.
Yeah, it's a deep deep.
It's a pretty deep cut. He's got a movie coming out. The Deadpool movie is coming out next year, so it'll probably be pretty big. But Deadpool's kind of a grown-up-ish comic, and I have to make sure like the ones he reads aren't totally like terrible. But they want me to be the Hulk. They just want me to be the Hulk, which I'm just not going to do.
I did the Hulk one year. It's a lot.
You're going to paint your whole body green, right?
That's it.
I'm not going to do that.
It's a lot.
I just flat out, full stop. I'm not going to do it.
But it was fun. I mean, afterward, it's just you're just cakey with like paint and just
hard.
You can't go out. You're not going to make it past 11 p.m.
Yeah. Plus, it's cold out. You got to walk around with no clothes on practically.
Right.
All right, man. Let's take a quick break. We're going to be talking to Amy Parnes from The Hill. She's coming up next. She is the White House correspondent for The Hill. We got lots of stuff to talk to her about, so stay tuned.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Yes, it is the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. We're on Twitter at BP Show, and I'm on Twitter at Peter Ogburn. By the way, Holly just tweeted at me, "You are so mature, Peter Ogburn." I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that she's being sarcastic.
Sarcasm.
I think that she's being sarcastic. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure she didn't mean that. All right, so let's just keep moving right along with today's program. We are joined by senior White House correspondent for The Hill and the author of this fine book that I'm holding here in my hot little hands, along with co-author Jonathan Allen, a frequent guest in studio. Amy Parnes joins us on the phone.
Hi,
hey, Amy.
Peter.
How are you?
How are you? Good. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for coming on with the JV team here while we try and
Never.
Not
and
screw-
you're not immature at all.
I'm a little immature. But yeah, I'm sort of being called out, I guess. But that's okay.
It's okay. It's Monday.
All right. I think this all has to do with the fact that I said that I wasn't dressing up for Halloween.
You never dress up, though.
Yeah, I know. Like, why would I start now?
Yeah, I know.
Like,
Yeah,
I said last year we had a party, and I dressed up as sexy Rob Ford, and I put in like a pillow in, and I served chicken wings to the trick or treaters. and I think that's what the comment was about. But
yeah, well, yes.
all right, Amy, let's jump right into it because Hillary Clinton had a hell of a week last week. Pretty good week for her, by the way. We saw the only person that was a real threat to her in her eyes. Joe Biden said he wasn't going to run, or the only person that was threatened to still jump in. Joe Biden got out. She absolutely nailed the Benghazi committee. It's all uphill for her, right? After that.
Well, it remains to be seen. I think she's going to probably end up running a very low-risk campaign right now through the end of the Democratic primary, I would think, because she has such a huge lead. I know Sanders supporters think that he's coming back, but I think, Biden, with Biden out of the race, she's well ahead, and I think they know that. So it'll be interesting to see what she does now. I know certain groups are focused on, I think the Super PAC, Correct the Record, for instance, is out to try to soften her again. So I think the soften her message is coming back, and she's going to be on Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel. And so I think that's part of the strategy now, is to get people to like her.
I thought, yeah, exactly. That's a tough sell for her, frankly, for a lot of people. There was an interesting moment over the weekend because Hillary and Bernie both sort of taking a couple little jabs at each other. There was a moment in the debate that I saw, and I didn't get a lot of play at the time, but I'm glad to see it came back because I think it's a real issue. Because Bernie Sanders said that you can't just go around yelling about gun control. And some people noticed that, like, when you're talking to a woman about running around shouting about things, it's not a very good look. So she, over the weekend, said, quote, "Sometimes when a woman speaks out, people think that it's shouting." And it was sort of a direct blast at Bernie Sanders. So how is it going to look when Hillary and Bernie start throwing at each other?
That's an interesting question, because I think his strategy now, he just hired a pollster. He's really kicking into high gear. And I think he really wants to attack her as much as he can. You're seeing two different strategies here. She's going to sort of, I don't think she attacks him very much, but maybe that escalates as he attacks her, because that's one thing you notice about Hillary is if someone comes at her pretty hard, although we didn't see that in the Benghazi hearing, but she typically tends to throw back punches, as we saw with the shouting comment.
Yeah.
So I think that, I think his strategy is to hit her hard and as hard as possible, which is a departure from the way he acted in the debate, where he was like, "Oh, we've heard enough of your damn emails.
Read a bunch of damn emails."
Yeah, exactly. And so, so I think, I think we see him obviously try to hit her a little more, and it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out with people, if they think, because he's typically so laid back and cool and calm. So how does that impact her and supporters?
It could go either way. It could really backfire on Bernie because he's like a sweet old man, right?
His crowd seemed to be really riled up though during the dinner.
Oh yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Yeah, I mean his crowd is certainly enthusiastic, but
and hers is not. I mean, that's one thing that when you talk to Clinton supporters, Democrats are still they're not as excited. Like I always ask, are you feeling it the way you felt about Obama in 2008? Is there that energy? And even her supporters say no, it's not quite there yet, and they're trying to sort of rally people around her a little more. So I think that's part of their strategy, too. I think that's part of the whole soften like her thing. I think that's going to hurt her more than anything. I was at a dinner this weekend, and most people said that they didn't like her or trust her. Yeah. And this was like a crowd of mostly Democrats. So I think that's something that she faces, a hardship and an uphill climb.
In terms of confirming her status as the front runner and whether or not she's up to the job, I think she put a lot of those fears aside in front of the Benghazi committee last week because she just knocked it out of the park. She did a really good job with that, I think.
Yeah, it was a campaign ad, as lots of people have said, but it really was. I mean, even the Lossage moment where she said, I think Trey Gowdy said, "Do you need 60 seconds, Madam Secretary?" And she was like, "No." And it reminded me of like a scene in a movie where, she reaches for a lozenge and she powers through it. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, and then like the I'll let you read your notes before I ask your question. And she's like, "I can do two things at once, dude."
I know.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
Yeah, it was bad. Borderline sexist, I thought.
Yeah, agreed. 100%. All right, Amy Parnes, thank you so much for joining us from the Hill.
Thank you.
Also, author of this book that I'm holding here, HRC. If you haven't read it, it's a great time to read it, catch up on it. Thanks, Amy. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. Have a good week.
You too, my dear. All right, 53 minutes past the hour. We will be back with a very short segment.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends and neighbors, what do you say? Good morning. Great to see you this morning. This is The Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., bringing you up to date on all the news of the day, whether it's happening here in our nation's capital, around the country, around the globe. Coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV. Events in the nation's capital. Hi, everybody. It's Bill Press. This year marks the 10th anniversary of doing the Bill Press Show every day, covering the news of the day with the nation's top newsmakers, either on the line or in our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Not only that, I go to the White House briefings every day to get answers to the top questions of the day. Bottom line, if it's happening in Washington, D.C., either at the White House or the Capitol, we are all over it. Every day, we welcome to our studio political leaders and reporters and labor leaders and newsmakers to help us understand the issues of the day. You know, we started out as a radio show only, but over the years, we have branched out to all forms of the new media. So today, we're not just a radio show. We are podcasting, streaming audio, streaming video, and we are simulcast live on Free Speech TV nationwide, reaching out to 40 million households on Free Speech TV, in addition to hundreds of thousands on local radio stations and online.
AFGE is so proud to be associated with this show and looks forward to being working with Bill and this show for a long time.
Bill Press is the right man at the right time with the right message.
And thanks to the Bill Press Show, we get our message out to thousands and thousands of people every day. Thank you, Bill Press.
The Teamsters are a proud partner with Bill Press on his show, telling the truth about what's going on with working families. Tune in.
Yes, it's been a fun and exciting 10 years so far for the Bill Press Show. We're looking forward to many more with all of you, broadcasting live every morning from the nation's capital.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, 57 minutes past the hour as we steer this ship into port. Thank you so much for joining us today. Monday, October 26th. All of our guests who bothered to show up: Scott Bland, Emily Schultheis, Tierney Sneed, and Amy Parnes. What a show. What a show. We're going to have a good rest of the week coming up. Sabrina Siddiqui will be here tomorrow. I mentioned Bill is on the left coast, and he's going to be back a little bit later on this week. By the way, Donald Trump is on the Today Show, and they did like a little town hall thing, and he was asked about his success, and Trump says, quote, this just happened, quote, "It has not been easy for me. My father gave me a small loan of $1 million, end quote. $1 million is what his father loaned him.
Don't try to relate, dude.
Yeah, no, it just ain't going to work. And it's also worth pointing out that when his father left him all of his money, if Donald Trump had merely just put it into a savings account and just let it sit, he would have way more money than he has right now. So I'm not saying he squandered any fortune. I'm just saying it's not like he's a great manager of money, right? Like he was given a ton of money and he still has a slightly less amount of money, right? Like, so good for him, I guess. Some businessman. My name is Peter Ogburn. Thank you so much for tuning in today to the Bill Press Show. A great week ahead. Hope you make it a good one. See you tomorrow.
This is the Bill Press Show.